Hello everybody, welcome to a quick little tutorial on how to do a fix for hip rotation in Neos. Neos's IK has a bit of a problem sometimes, at the moment at least, where it'll suppress rotation, such as if I am currently wiggling my hips right now, you can see by my hands that they're moving, but you can see by the hips in Neos that they're not. However, with a quick little fix, we can click a button, and the hips wiggle. You can get a bit of rotation out of it, not as much as you may in other programs, but enough for it to be shown. So we're going to quickly run over how you can do this fix for yourself. First thing you'll need to do is you need to get a dev tip. You can grab the dev tip and click equip in your context menu, or if you're in VR, you can grab it and just pull it towards yourself to equip it. First thing we do is we're going to click on ourselves, select with the controller, pressing secondary on your controller will select. On index, that is clicking the trackpad, and on most other controllers, it's clicking the joystick. Once you have yourself selected, open your context menu and press Open Inspector. And then from there, we're going to go to the root of our avatar with this white button on the left. When you click this button, it'll go to the root of the object that you have selected. And there we go. There's the base of my avatar. If I double click it, you can see a big old bounding box around me, capturing what I do, but we're going to deselect everything just so we don't have it in the way right now. Now that we have ourselves selected, we're going to go down to our centered root right here, root node, and you may have a little bit of a different hierarchy, but this is where you're going to want to end up, is centered root, root node, and then armature. This will contain all the bones for your avatar, and this is where you're going to work from. We go into armature, go into hips, and as you can see, what I have right here is this little extra slot that's just as it is at the moment called hips child, because it's just a direct child. To do this for yourself though, you will click on hips here, and you'll click the star right here. This will create a child slot, and as I click that, you can see right down here, a new slot appears. We're going to distinguish it from the one I already have by calling it hips tutorial. There we go. Oh, there we go. Hips tutorial. So, once you're in hips tutorial, or your own child slot, whatever you call it, you're going to go down here to add component. And in here, you will go to transform, drivers, and then you will find copy global transform. Now you'll see that once you add this in, it will begin driving these values. Once a value is driven, it means that this component is the only source of information for it. It'll constantly update it. However, we don't want to update the position. The position will be driven by hips here. We're going to go into this first thing called position drive, and we're going to click the null button to the right of it. That will empty the field out, and as you can see, position is no longer driven. What we need to do next is update source. To update source, very simply, we're going back to the root of the avatar here. You find hips proxy. If you've moved hips proxy or renamed it, then figure out where it is. You click on the arrow, and you see right here, target. This is the target of the tracker that you have. And as you can see, as I rotate, that rotates with me. It moves with my hips, and that's what's copying the tracker position. So we're going to grab that, just point at it with your laser and pull grip. Go back to our slot hips tutorial, and click source. Now, you see that I've added it right up here. The rotation is being driven. This means that hips tutorial is also matching my hips rotation, but matching the position of the actual bone on the avatar. What we're going to do now, following that, is we're going to grab hips tutorial and go into our main body mesh. Now, you may have different body meshes. I have, for example, 3 that rely on my hips, both the shirt, body mesh, and pants, all rely on the hips bone. So you'll have to figure out how many of these meshes do that with your avatar. If you're not sure, see if you can find somebody to help. If you can look it up online, there's different ways to get sources. Just ask somebody for help and you'll probably get an answer. But for mine, we're going to do body main, body shirt, and body pants. So I click on body main, and you can see right here, I have my hips value already driven because of my current system. Let me delete that. There we go. Now we can go to body main, back to hips. So wherever you find the hips bone in this list, and your list may be bigger than mine, I have not as many bones as some other people do. Oh, I cleared something out. Don't worry about it. You're going to take this target, this hips tutorial slot that you've made, and you're going to drop it on number 0. You can click on it, you can drop it, whatever. And you can see now, separate from my pants, that when I wiggle my hips, my body starts to slide outside of my pants a little, because the body is following the IK there. So we're going to take the tutorial, the hips tutorial, we're going to go to body shirt, replace hips there. Now that one's moving as well. It's not as noticeable, but there's a little bit of weight painting on it. And then we're going to go to body pants. And you can see now, my hips are wiggling. Now, this is a good solution if you're always wearing full body tracking. But if you are not wearing full body tracking, you get a bit of an issue where the hips will rotate to not be facing with the avatar like normal, because they'll be tracking the proxy target for rotation, but if you don't have full body tracking on, this doesn't do anything, never gets updated. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a button that will allow you to switch between this and the other way, this. So that in non-full body, you can not have your hips rotated off in some weird direction, turning yourself into a pretzel. So what we're going to do, and I'm going to go, and you can see that I currently don't have that button in my context menu anymore. Normally it's right here. We're going to create another one. And so this will be about a few components. So just click on settings, click on the star right here to create a child. This is my root context menu. If you are putting this right directly on your avatar, then you will add simply one component that I'll show you in a second. But if you're not, you'll put it underneath any context menu settings that you already have where you want to put it down. If you're doing it on the root though, I'll show you how to do that in a second. So we've created right here, settings child. Double click on that. We go to attach component. And we're going to go into Rating UI. Rating UI is where your context menu buttons are. This is, you go into context menu, and then we will be using 2 of these buttons. Actually, 1 of these buttons. You'll just simply use ContextMenuItemSource. And indeed now, we have an item labeled My Item right here. And if I open my context menu, you can see we have my item right there. Clicking on it doesn't do anything though. We're going to name this hip. And you can see now it is named hip. After that, what we're going to do is we're going to go now into common UI. And the reason we're going into here into button interactions is because context menus are buttons. They interact like buttons within Neos. When you press a context menu item, it'll send a button impulse into the slot that it's on. So we're going to use something that'll take a button impulse and use it to change that value. In this case, we're going to use button toggle. Button toggle will target a Boolean value, such as, let's say, the button enabled value here. And you can see, as I click hip, oh, I turned the button off, so I can't turn it back on. The button toggle will turn a Boolean value on and off like that. We're going to use this, though, in transform, drivers, and Boolean, actually not Boolean, reference. value driver. Where is it? Or Boolean reference driver. I thought it was reference value driver. Alright, so we have a Boolean reference driver. We're going to type in our type name for the reference. This time it'll be a slot. And we double click that. This will be the main thing that changes the targeting for the hips between the hips child and the hips themselves. We take the state, put that on button toggle, just drag it over, and as you can see, it changes back and forth now. And what we do is we take our newly added slot, hips tutorial, we'll put that into the true for when it's on, and hips into the false for when it's off. And now, if I go and I'm going to open a second inspector, just grab this and click in the air. Oh. Now what we will do, and let's back up a little, is we're going to go into here, and you can see where hips tutorial is. We're going to grab the 0 right here on the left. This will reference this whole field for us. And we take this and drop it into target reference. And you can see now that's driven, and my hips are no longer following the thing. However, if I turn it on, now I get the wiggly hips. This is the basis of the hip fix. You simply have a child hip slot that will reference the rotation of your hips proxy target, but underneath the hips position. And you simply switch between hips and your child hips slot in the mesh for the wave painting. However, I have multiple pieces. So how do we reference all 3 pieces that I have? Because you may have a tail, you may have multiple pieces of clothing. You need to reference them all. Very simply, what I will do is attach another component. We will change this to go into relations and value or reference multi-driver. We type in there again slot, double click it, and we have multiple drives we can add here. We have 1, 2, 3. And we will clear off this drive and add this. First, actually, let's add this reference. This will be what's going to get copied into these 3. We'll add that here. And you can see that now updates with hips tutorial. We're going to take, for number 0 of my body mesh. We go up to the shirt. Number 0, where my hips are, of my shirt mesh. And then number 0, where my hips are, of my pants mesh. And now, for all 3, you can see, wiggly hips. And I press the button, and no wiggle. And that is how to do the hip fix in Neos. It's a nice solution for the full body tracking if you want to get just a little bit extra out of how you move. And hopefully, it'll help improve your experience. I hope that this has helped you. If you have any feedback on how I've done the tutorial, let me know in the comments or message me directly if you ever see me. And I'll talk to you later. Have a wonderful day.